Okay, hopefully everybody's still there and we're back going on. Shannon, do you have it unmuted?
Energy recording.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. During the break, we had a question that came up, and Cheryl, I'm going to turn just a second over to you for your question.
Okay, so when I go to the Adilas.biz homepage, I see all these corporations. My question was, is that all the corporations on Adilas, or are those just the ones I have permission to see?
Okay, correct. And so what she's asking here is, a couple times I switched corporations, and so I clicked this little link, and then I told it that I wanted to go, say, here to a little training site or something like that, okay? Well, I have permissions in a bunch of different corporations, but if I didn't, I wouldn't see any of those. So watch this, just for a second. Watch this. If I log out, and if I log in as this, guest, and I log in, it'll take me right to my corporation. I didn't even have a chance, and I don't have that link, okay? So I don't even have that link. So it basically tests to see, like, hey, what's going on and what's happening. So if I log out, I could actually technically stay right here. I just can't bounce to any other corporation unless I log out and do this. So I logged in as a different one. This one happens to be the exact same site, the testing playground. So guess what? I can actually come right here and say time. What was the last one that I just did? And it should take me right to the sewing project that we did for you. Oh, this one says the last. I'm now logged in as a different user. Okay, and so basically what it did is it said, what was the last one that guest put in rather than me putting in?
Okay.
And so it basically did that type of thing. It actually still exists. If I go to the Elements of Time homepage, here's your stuff, making address, but I happen to be in under guest right now rather than myself. So I'm going to actually log out and log back in. And I always change my username and password. This is just for fun, and I just did this just for the class. Adilas Rocks 2013. And then I'm going to go back to the playground real quick. Okay, Shannon, can you check, make sure everybody else is there? Well, what we've done so far, just as a recap, we lightly talked about a location, how it's the base. It contains your tax settings. We then talked a little bit about web and e-commerce, and as far as where those are headed. E-commerce is coming. It is currently on the to-do list, and I have started, and I probably am close to 15, 20 hours into e-commerce already, and so it's coming. Tools and maintenance, a huge piece of Adilas. This is how you help the thing run, okay? It also has, this is where you can get to a bunch of tools. When it says tools, this is like free calculators, barcode generators, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a ton of little cool tools underneath that. Loan calculators, you name it. We talked briefly about floor plan. Floor plan and stock units are tied together, and that's kind of more of your bigger ticket items. We briefly touched on elements of time. I'd highly recommend when you do elements of time, you read some help files there, okay? It'll help you kind of get going. There are some tutorials that Steve has also done and put up online for elements of time. Great stuff there. Good potential. Where we are heading right now is customers and shopping cart. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and actually I'm going to ask you really quick. If I say customers, what do you think of?
Somebody walks in a door.
Okay.
To a retail store.
Okay.
And buys something.
Okay. That's great. So if I was Sandy and I was at the liquor store or something like that, I wouldn't necessarily want to know customers or anything like that. I have them coming in so fast, it would take extra time for me to want to do that. However, if I was you and I had specific people who kept coming in and I had them constantly and I wanted to even track what they did, I would want to use customers. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it's not required. It's not a required piece. You have to have a customer in order to sell something. However, you don't have to assign that customer to, say, like an invoice or a quote unless you really need to. Here's another reason that you would want to do customers. So Ray from Tubes and Hoses, he does a lot of stuff on credit, okay? And so basically, he'll build things. So these people say, hey, I need this, and I need this, and I need this. Oh, I need a certain number of widgets, X number of clamps. some stuff like this. Well, he's giving him all this stuff on credit. Do you think he wants to do customers? Absolutely, okay? So there's a reason to use customers. It's not just like a requirement. But if you don't want to do it, say I was doing a quote or an invoice, we do a thing called a counter sale. Just really quick, watch. This is a non-customer invoice. I click here, I say create new cart. I say make it a counter sale, do it. And I can come down and say add an item. And I can pop it in really quick, 50 bucks. Say it's labor. And I don't even have to even put anything. Like it could be that easy and you could have an invoice ready. Click, and I could say checkout. Boom. That fast. No customer. Didn't even pull in a part. That's just slick, quick, and dirty, okay? I could either save it as a quote or a cart, or I could check out. So those are my options. That's a quick way to do it. As soon as I get into customers, what ends up happening is you now have customers. This is my play site, and so I know that I actually have the Flintstones in here. I have a couple of the Flintstones, okay? So this is called the customer homepage. The customer homepage has a number of links to lots of different pieces. Really quick, before we do this, let's talk just theory for just a microsecond on customers. Customers, what would they possibly be connected to? You could look around the map, but let's just ask real quick. Shannon, what would a customer be attached to?
To an invoice.
Okay, customers and invoices. This is what I would almost call friends, okay? So customers, what are their friends? Okay, we have invoices. What else?
Items.
Okay, you might want to sell them something. So eventually, here's what happens. In order to connect a customer to an item, you actually go through a thing called an invoice. If you look on the map, it actually shows that. So a customer interfaces through a thing that we call the shopping cart, which is basically a way that we build things. We create invoices and quotes or elements of time. All of these pieces are kind of connected to customers, and we can eventually connect all the way over to the items. So if I wanted to actually see Fred Flintstones and which items he had done, well, guess what I have to do? Eventually, I had to have an invoice, and then eventually I can get back to here. Does that make sense how we have to bounce through that? Watch this really quick. I'm just going to do that, and then we'll jump back to this map for just a minute. Customer Flintstone, and I click on Fred, and I come up here and I say basically all invoice items. If I click on this, every single piece that I've ever sold to Fred is now here. And it looks to me like I've sold him a bunch of different labors, some supplies, a fork. He really likes forks. A square bulb. Like, there's been a bunch of different things. These are the items, but guess what? These items are actually attached to an invoice. So over here, you can see that this is actually on invoice number 73. Here's 3 items that were actually on invoice number 75. So if I click on that, we can actually see, hey, this was assigned to Fred Flintstone. Here's the customer. And then it basically goes clear down to the item level. But we also gain this little piece. Number 75 is what actually connects those pieces together, if that makes sense. Okay, so we're still kind of talking about friends. We said customers can be invoices, quotes, even clear down to the line items and general inventory stuff. Customers can be associated with time. Watch this. I've been playing in here, and so I'm going to go back to Fred. Okay? And I know that Fred actually has a lot of elements of time that I've actually done. All elements of time for Fred. And I'm not sure if let's try the last year. I guess we're just barely, oh man, I haven't done any. Well, watch this, it'd be a piece of cake. Let's just do this from right here. We're going to assign him a sewing project really quick so you can see how it works. Testing, I'm just going to leave everything else blank, blank, blank. Hit it. And now if I actually go to Fred Flintstone again and I say all elements of time, click. Here's something that was assigned to Fred. I just put that in really quickly. We didn't put any other details in there, but basically that's how it allows us to do that. Okay, I'm going to go back to the home page so we can talk about other friends because customers have other pieces, okay? So we've talked roughly in this area, elements of time, inventory items, quotes, invoices. What is this right here, this AR customer waiting room? What is that? What does AR stand for?
Accounts receivable.
Accounts receivable. So what does accounts receivable mean? That's an accounting term.
It means that you sold them something on credit and you're waiting for him to pay you.
Who owes me money, right? Okay, so that's why it's very friendly. It's purposely positioned right there close to customers because it's kind of tied to that directly, alrighty? If I click on this, if I click on the AR waiting room right here, boom, it's going to drop me into like who owes me what. You do not want to see this. Because I'm testing, I actually have some counter sales, meaning I don't know who the customer is and they owe me some money. So like, you don't want to do that. If you really are doing credit, you better put a customer in there, okay? The system will let you do it, but basically it allows you to kind of like, who owes me money, how old are the things. And once again, this is a playing site, so normally you'd want to see your items right here in your current or over 30 or right in that general area versus clear out to the 90. Like, good luck getting that one from it. But the neat thing is as you click on this Fred Flintstone right here, he's made a few payments, so he totally owes me $9.51. I could either go into these different little pieces or I could click right here and basically Fred, his information will now come up. Invoice this. And it also tells me some of the dates, so that's kind of fun. We'll jump back into that in just a minute. We're heading back to customers. We're still kind of figuring out their friends. So we found out that everything right here is kind of associated with friends. What are these things right up here? Statements and logs.
I would guess a statement would be sending him out a monthly statement so you can get what he owes you.
Correct.
Reminding him that he owes you money.
Correct. Okay. So basically a statement, what you virtually do, and I have a whole bunch of little pieces here, but imagine something like this. Okay. A statement is kind of like a little platter. Okay. But imagine if you had different objects that were on this thing and then you wanted to send the person one whole statement. So say, for instance, for Ray, for tubes and hoses or something like that, he might have multiple people that come in throughout the month or even the month last and a half or whatever it might be. Well, he'll end up stacking all of this stuff onto a statement and then he sends it to them. Basically, a statement is a way to do a one-to-many to many. Okay? You can say, I have multiple invoices that I'm going to now serve you up on this little platter. Does that make sense how a statement goes to a huger level? Okay, when you actually satisfy a statement, what ends up happening is the individual payments actually satisfy the smaller little invoice pieces. You're not actually paying the statement off. What happens inside of Adilas in order for the pieces to be recorded, the statement is virtually a picture in time. Here's what you owe me. Here's what it's for. Okay? And then they send you the payment. And then inside of Adilas, we take that payment and we split it up to the different pieces so that it satisfies them so they can continue on their journey. Okay?
If they haven't paid you all, if they just paid you a section,
no problem.
Does it go to the oldest invoices and then pay those off?
You guys want to see, just for fun, if we're talking statements for just a second? Well, let's say we sent this statement out. Actually, let's do the whole thing. We're going to go back to Fred. We're dealing with customers right now, okay? I'm just going to go back to Fred. So I just typed a little bit in the quick search, and I'm going to jump in here. Now, if I click on log, this is the place that I like to kind of start from. The log is basically the little miniature homepage for that customer. What's attached, what's assigned, okay? And so basically, I can even say, hey, what do I have statements year to date? I currently don't have anything, okay? So I'm going to show hide the criteria, and I'm going to actually push this date back a little further just to see if I have any older statements for it. I don't, okay? And so what I did right there is I just said from 12 to 13. This happens to be his ID number. If I hit create new statement, it's automatically going to say, okay, I'm dealing with Fred Flintstone, and from what date range do we want to do this? And if I don't know, I'm going to back it way up. Like I just tried 12 and I didn't have any other statements. Basically, you have to kind of do some prep work. Like, what is his, what do I have for him? And you can actually do that by checking on his receivables for him. So if I didn't know and I wanted, like I'm guessing right now, and so you can totally guess, let's actually take a step back and we'll do it correctly, okay? I'll click on Fred again, and we'll get to his log. And we'll actually say, he owes me $991, okay? If I click on this, it actually tells me the dates, okay? Here's the dates, clear back from 11, clear back from 10. Like, I've been playing with this for a while. So he owes me from clear back from 2010. So that kind of gives me an idea. Now if I were to actually do a statement for him, basically I'm going to head back right here to the log, and then I'm going to click on statements year to date, and basically I'm going to say create a new statement, and I'm going to say from 1/1 of 10 to 3/31 of 13. Okay. It looks like I've actually attached him to some other different pieces. You may or may not have this other piece, okay? Usually it just asks for a date range unless you start doing additional customer assignments, which is basically adding more than one customer to an invoice, and it kind of looks that up. So I'm going to say build a statement. Basically, I'm now on the add edit statement page, and it starts pulling in my information. Here's some of the different pieces that we've done. Looks like he did actually pay one off. He paid this one off as well. This is pending, 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 pending. And looks like I assigned some additional customers, bam, bam, to him.
Why does it say pending if it looks like he paid off with a credit card? He didn't pay all of it.
He didn't pay it all. So
Oh,
amount
okay.
was $758. He paid
Okay.
$490. He still owes $268 on that particular one.
I see.
And so, good question. So anything that has an asterisk has to be filled in. So a due date, if you don't know the due date, usually you cascade that out. Are they net 15, net 30, whatever, whatever. I'm just going to put in today's date just for simplicity. We're going to just put in the 26th. A payment term, usually you could be like, you know, whatever, whatever. Like, these are just like required fields, if you will. And so like you could even put like net 30. You can add some additional notes. Hey, please pay this off, and if you do, I'll give you a discount or whatever, whatever. You can actually add or subtract different little pieces, and what it does is it actually alters these totals here as far as like what the different things are. Okay, I'm just going to say add the statement. Click. So at this point, we now have a statement that I can physically send out to him. Here's his information. It basically created the statement. If I wanted to save it as a PDF and mail it to him, I would click on Save as a PDF. It builds and generates the whole thing again. And then I basically would save that. So say if I was doing the whole process, I would click on the Save icon. And then I would actually say, let's actually have you come up here into Adilas Invoices, and you could name it to whatever you wanted. Something, something. And you click Save. Click. And now it physically exists. As soon as you save it, it technically exists. So if I were to even leave this, watch this right here, I'm just going to hit back. And if I actually opened up my Windows Explorer, which is basically how you navigate through your files and such, and I went to My Documents, and I went to Adilas Invoices, and if I wanted to actually see it, it would be under something, something. So here it is right here, something statement, okay? And it physically exists, and I could then attach that to an email, okay?